Yeah, oh, sorry.
django-social-auth is a third-party application. There are a lot of Django applications on GitHub. If you just put in Django, you will come up with about 100 different applications. Django-social-auth is specialized for authentication in social sites.
Shall I go to the next one? Or leave it here?
Yeah. So, like Facebook, Twitter, and so on. So, anyway, this talk will first of all have a basic introduction on why you need social authentication and some background on Django-social-auth. Then I'll talk about a basic setup of how you set up Django-social-auth. This is basically for completeness. You can get most of it from the documentation because it's a very well documented app. Then pros and cons, based on my own experiences, and a brief conclusion for the meeting. And so we have a question and answer session after that. So why social signing? A lot of websites like to give personalized content to their users because that's what's really useful. Everyone goes to a website not just to just read what's there. They want to get something out of it. They are to get something. So by getting some information from a third-party site, you can give personalized information to the user. And instead of actually getting a lot of data from the user by consecutive visits, which is what Amazon does at present. They look at what you purchased before and then give you books similar to that purchase. That's okay if you have a lot of users visiting your site frequently, but if you don't have that many people, getting some profile information from a third-party site is useful. Now, this is probably the main reason why you want to get some sign-in from a social site. Because the registration process is very easy. One click and you're pretty much logged in. This is probably the major reason. Validation of email. Now, instead of writing some kind of application, go to your email, activate, and then that whole process can become cumbersome, can become a bit error-prone. If you don't do the validation correctly, and sometimes you have an expiration date, the person may not be able to get to the email straight away because some internet outage and so on. So if you have a pre-validated email by some other site, you don't have to go to the validation process separately.
Just add something. So most of the sites I have seen, I think they have both, right? So they have like a social sign-in and then they have like the regular sign-in as well.
Yes.
Where you sign up individually on that site. So you still have to support both, right?
Yes, we still have to support both. But in the case of, I guess, using a social sign-in, I guess you have to support the existing users to be able to sign in both ways. But the people who sign in through the Facebook or Twitter or whatever sign in, they can only sign in through that process. They won't be given a password because Facebook, Twitter won't give us their password. It's not secure to pass information. And of course, existing users, you got to support them with this. So by getting information from the social site, you can give even more personal content to the existing users. So you improve the process improve the experience for whoever is already logged into the site. So what's in a name? Now there are actually two apps, both called django-social-auth. And the difference is one's got a space and one doesn't have a space. But they are totally different. Now many people confuse the two. I've seen people say, this doesn't work. But that's because they're talking about one django-social-auth and not the other. They're mixing the two.
Which one came up first?
I'm not too sure about that. But I can tell you which one's better, the first one, which I'm going to talk about.
What he's talking about right now.
That's a personal view. They both have their merits. But the subject will be django-social-auth with the spaces. So how does the social signing process work? Now, what happens is you are working on a computer, the client, you basically press the link, log in with Facebook. That's in the request to web application. Web application then uses django-social-auth to send a request to the social site. So on Facebook already. Social site then returns a response with the user details that are requested. The web application processes those requests and then you're logged in. The user is logged in.
So this is done every time or just the first time?
Once you have already said, okay, this is my backend, I log in on Facebook, next time you don't have, it doesn't go through this process. It's already got your details and you will log in straight away. First time what will happen is that sometimes if you have a terms of use or something like that you have to go through, then there will be a part where you have to keep it. But next time you just log in straight. There's no delay. So django-social-auth, where it actually fits in is in this area basically of the diagram, where you got the web application interacting with the social site and then coming back. So this is where django-social-auth helps us. Okay, so how do we set up django-social-auth? These are basically the prerequisite packages. This is basic for development. This is you can use it for packaging, and if you're using build-out, that's something that helps you install an environment to build kind of applications. Then you have a PostgreSQL server, pgadmin, which is a graphical user interface to Postgres. And I prefer using virtual environments than build-out. Build-out is quite cumbersome and sometimes doesn't quite work. So a virtual environment is an isolated environment where you can build your application. You activate it, you build, you develop, deactivate it. It doesn't affect the rest of your system. So if you don't really want to install something system-wide, you just install it in the virtual environment and forget about it.
So how exactly the virtual environment works? Like, you still need permissions to the path or?
Well, basically you can install in your home directory. So you have permissions.
Okay.
It basically builds your entire Python tree inside the virtual environment.
But what exactly you mean when you say? So what's the difference between, say, installing in your home directory and installing in a virtual environment?
No, well, thing is that the virtual environment.
The thing about for one project we have certain dependencies, for other project we have some other dependencies. It won't clash. Please go on.
Yeah, I'll explain. So you got Python runtime installed in your machine. So let's consider you are using a hosting service provider, shared hosting. I have got Django 1.1 running, Django 1.2 running, 1.3 running. So if I install into the sudo apt-get install, what happens is like the higher version will be there. But you want to have a separate version, virtual, which is like exact Python environment, but you don't need root permissions to modify anything. Let's consider you install virtual will create the virtual will. So what you do is like you're creating it exactly like a Python environment, but it is a virtual. Okay? As a result, what you get, you can install the packages particular to your directory, and it will be easy for you to deploy also. For example, you just need pip install particular version. The best thing is you don't need a root permission to install inside a virtual environment. So by this way, you can separate out all your dependencies.
So is there a difference when you actually run the code? Like when you're calling your modules, do you?
Exactly. So what you have to do is like you have to activate the virtual environment. First you create a virtual environment, then you activate your virtual environment. After activating, what happens is like the same Python directory. For example, if you go inside a Python file, you got 2.7/disk packages/site packages. So all the installation which you make after activating a virtual end, it will be only local to that environment. Let's consider you are activated a particular environment, you deactivate it, the dependency which you installed inside a virtual environment will not be available outside.
Okay, but how does it distinguish when like calls are coming from outside? So if somebody is like making calling some function through a browser, how does it know which virtual environment to select in? Like,
Let's consider you've got a browser, so it has to go to a web server. So that web server, first you have to activate a virtual environment, then you run the web server. If virtual environment is automatically enabled, so it will understand, it will also look only into the particular thing. You got a sys.path available, those paths will be available only to the virtual environment.
I think that when we say activate, it actually modify your path so that all the binary files are located,
all the environment variables.
Right, environment variable will be changed. Yes, sir.
So that's how you install virtual env package. Distribute is helps to distribute the actually replaces the package. This one is. So as he said, you can install the packages that you want in the virtual environment. Now, in this case, by using the -e environment name, you don't have to activate the virtual environment before installing it in that virtual environment. So this is, you can do it without activating it. If you activate it, you just click install package name. So that's basically what it is. So I definitely want to get Django and Cyclopedia as in the backend for PostgreSQL and Django of course. Now no side packages basically means that you do not want any of the side packages in your installation Python standard installation. You just want to install whatever you want inside the virtual environment without using any of the packages already pre-installed. It is good to keep an isolated environment, especially as say for different applications where you don't need all the packages that use it.
I think in the newer version, this option is not available. That's the default option, I guess.
No need to give a hyphen no side packages.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the default now.
Okay.
So no need to explicitly specify.
Next.
Yeah. So magic incarnation is how you install django-social-auth.
May have to speak up.
Yeah.
It's not catching.
So remember the hyphens. Although it's Django space social space auth, you have to put the hyphens for the spaces to get the package. It's just the.
How is the name of the other one you mentioned?
It will be django-social-auth. So no second hyphen.
No hyphen.
No second hyphen. No second hyphen.
No second hyphen. So this is django-social-auth. So that's that. Next one please. Okay. So to set up django-social-auth so that you can use it, you have to set up some configuration parameters. In Django, we have something called settings.py, which is a file that is once you do Django start project, it will immediately create it automatically for you with some default values. So to use django-social-auth, you have to put the social-auth.backends dot whatever backend. In this case, I am putting Facebook just as an example. So it will be Twitter, Google, Yahoo, whatever, not Facebook backend.
Icon, face icon.
And
Face icon go back to just one word.
sorry, okay. Because the slide couldn't fit the full thing, so the hyphens
That's a Microsoft added.
Okay. So the thing is that the important thing to remember here is to add this order, because if you don't add this authentication, then whoever logged in without the Facebook won't be able to log in. So you must add this django.contrib backends or model backend. The order here doesn't really matter, because when the Django pretty much runs all the backends, but as a convention you probably want to put the more specific ones above the one that is general, which is the last one.
So is there the fallback of facility like if that doesn't authenticate the first one, is it to check the other one?
Yes. The order doesn't matter, it just basically runs through. First one it matches, it takes. So I guess order can matter if you have two that match and you want one to go.
No, but what happens if you, for example, say if I have given some different information in my Facebook profile compared to what I have entered in your backend. So it matters, right? And like when you say that when you're taking that user info and you're trying to personalize the contents.
So you're saying you logged into here, but then you want to log into the.
Right. So what I'm saying is like people use like different information. Right? They need not specify exactly the same things. So in Facebook they may have given different information. In your site when they sign up, maybe they will give different information.
But what we had is that the existing users, they will log into their account as soon as the email matches. If you are a new user, you will be able to log into Facebook, but at this moment we are only providing Facebook login. So you will have to always click the link to log into the site. You cannot log into the django-social-auth, that username password backend, because you don't get a password from Facebook. So you can only log, if you are a new user, you can only log into that Facebook link. For an existing user, as long as your email address, Facebook email, and the email address that you given for this site match, you will be logged into your account. So all your information remains.
But what I wanted to ask is, do you consolidate both the information?
Yes.
You mean to say if you can no longer log in using your password to manage the regular sign?
No, you can. It depends which one you use. If you use Facebook, you won't have a password. But if you then go on and get signed in through a normal registration process, you will have to you will get a password. But again, your email addresses have to match. Otherwise, that won't work. So then, the next step after authentication backends is install apps. You have to install a social-auth app. Otherwise, you won't have access to it.
And this is the other one.
That's exactly, I think, this social auth. I'm not different. Next one, please. Okay. Now, next thing is context processes. Now, usually you only want to use one of these because they don't all play well together, especially the social auth, this one, and main backends. They clash with each other. So only use the one that you really need. And I basically use this one because this will give you the backend name in your request. So whenever you have a request, if you want to find out which backend you're using, especially if you got Twitter, OpenID, Google, Yahoo, you want to know which backend the user is using, then this one is quite good because it will give you Facebook, and then you can use that to consolidate, especially if you're using the same type of process to go through the login. Then knowing which backend and doing some extra work will be useful. Okay. So these are the other backend parameters that you use. As I said, I'm using Facebook as an example. So you will want to put your app ID. First you will have to set up a Facebook app on the Facebook site to use this. That will, you don't have to give it any kind of, you can take the default configuration of the Facebook app, except you have to specify which host. So if you've got a development host, a production host, you will have to create two different apps for the two different sites because each app is related to a particular URL. So you have to create one for development, one for production.
In fact, we have three. Four.
One for my local machine,
One for your local, one for development,
one
which is
for
common,
staging,
one for staging, and one for production.
So we have 4 apps. So they will have an app ID. Now Facebook calls the Facebook API secret app secret. So I don't know why he made it app. I just called it app secret. He made it API secret. This is the point of confusion for a lot of people also. So API secret equals app secret. And Facebook extend parameters. Now these are the parameters that say you are an existing user and you got Nandha Kumar as your name and your Facebook name is something else. You don't want your first name, last name details to change when you log into your existing account using Facebook. So you protect those parameters. So first name, last name, email will be protected parameters, but when you log in through social-auth, you won't have those parameters changed. Then the, as I said, app secret and API secret. It's shouldn't confuse it. Next one, please. Okay, social authentication pipeline. I hope you can remember the diagram that I had, client, web application, social server. Now this pipeline is a set of functions. After you get the details from the social site, it passes through this pipeline, which is a set of functions basically that you use to process all the details that you got. So this happens at the final step before the user is logged in, but you got the details from the social site and you process them through this pipeline. So, basically it's a steps. Each step has a specific task. So one may associate the email address of the user. Next one may create a user, or if it's an existing user, just get to the next step, and so on and so forth. Each thing has a specific task. Now, if you want to put some user-defined processing inside, there are three ways to do it. One, wrapping a custom function around an existing default pipeline function. Stopping the pipeline at some point. You can actually cut this pipeline, return to the user. Like if you want to get terms of use acceptance, you want to return to the user so that you can get his approval and then go to the rest of the thing. Adding a custom function as a step in the pipeline. We had this because we wanted to validate the username, first name and last name. I'll talk about that a little later, but we wanted to do that. So we had a custom step in the function. So this is the default social auth pipeline. Now if you are happy with that, you don't have to define your own social auth pipeline. If you want to put custom functions or do any of the things that I said in the previous slide, you have to define this in your settings configuration file. So this particular one is commented out by default because it's considered to be unsafe to compare emails. But if you wrap a custom function around it, email is the way you want to check people being the same user, then it's fine. It's just commented out because of security reasons. And there is a write-up about it on the documentation side.
Where is this also in the settings.ua?
And this is actually already in the social auth app. So if you are happy with this setup and you are not going to do any extra processing, you don't have to define this.
If I want to override this,
If you want to override this, you have to specify social auth pipeline. Next slide.
No?
The social auth pipeline and then equals the tuple of steps that you want. Equals steps, you just define this in your pipeline. It will then.
So if this is not defined, it takes it from the.
Yeah, it takes it default. So you don't have to define it if you're not doing anything special. Next one, please. So finishing touches. Now, django-social-auth adds some tables to your database. So you have to do a sync DB. You add association table, nonce table. These are transient. They are transient data. So they actually are pretty much empty most of the time. This is the one that we are really interested because this holds the user, the ID of the user, which is a foreign key to the normal standard user table that we have in Django. They will have the backend that the user used to log in and the access token. Like to get details from some sites, you need to have an access token. So the access token is also saved. So that next time you log in to Facebook and you want to update some details on a periodic basis, then you can use the same access token to get the details.
So which database is this?
This is whatever database you are using, you add these tables to it. SyncDB will add to the database you are using.
So there will be two tables now of users, one which is there for a custom site login.
The user table is a default Django table. As soon as you install the authentication app control app to Django, you will immediately get the user table. Usually you will want to add the authentication tag because you want people to log in.
So this is an additional table that's added.
This is the additional table. It has a foreign key relationship to the Django user table.
Oh.
So what you have is an ID to that user, so that you can link the two. So you will have access to the user's extra profiles plus whatever backend they used if they are using Facebook. So this is then you have some URLs that you need to have. URLs are basically to begin the social auth. Like when they click on a link, you want to start the process of going to the social site, getting the details. So those URLs you need to have. And I think there are about only 3 or 4 URLs that you need to have. And they are already inside the app. So,
Is there an example of that you show?
basically you just do that, but you add all the URLs. So unless you want to go in and only add those particular URLs, then you may want to not do that. But this will add everything. And you just add this to urls.py. You have that file already installed to Django start project. You only have URLs. You then add all your, it's like a routing file in Rails. You run Rails, a routing file, you put your URLs. It's in the link. Then I would recommend that you define these 3 parameters in the settings profile, because again django-social-auth has an interesting feature. I won't just right now, but if an error occurs, it will either redirect to this, or redirect to this. So you want to specify an error login, error URL. You just don't want to send the user back to the login page, so that the user has some information of what happened. When he presses on the Facebook link, then something happens and it just goes back to the login page. Doesn't actually tell the user much. So it's good to define this. One have to do them all. And these are the pros of django-social-auth. Django-social-auth supports, I think, at least 20 different social sites. There's a whole host of them. So you've got pretty much one app to deal with most of your social site sign-in details, which is definitely one of its major pros. And you can even write your own. Say that you are starting a social site and you want to allow people, your users to log in using your site. Then you can write your own backend. You can do whatever you need to get your details. It has a standard interface that you have to follow. Once you've got that going, you can write your own.
So can I plug that into Facebook?
Plug your own.
Custom social sign into your app.
Yeah, sure.
No, it's the other way around.
No. If I have something on a link on Facebook, so can I? Is there an ability to use my Facebook sign in and be able to sign into the app that I want people to sign into?
But how will you sign into their app to sign into Facebook?
The reason I'm asking is Facebook, I've been told, does not allow you to, link from within Facebook out to other sites with their social.
Facebook acts as an open ID provider, if I'm not mistaken. That should be possible. Much like how Google is also open ID.
We haven't experimented with it, so if that's possible.
Sure.
If you're a social ID provider, you won't allow people to log into your platform using any other authentication system. That breaks the whole idea of an open ID provider. They cannot. It depends. Like, for instance, Stack Exchange is an open ID provider. They have their own open ID, but they also allow logging into their system using other open IDs. So it all depends on how they work and stuff. I think what he is trying to say is that using social, or you can write your own custom code so that you can then package it along and you can use Facebook or whatever your custom want.
For instance, the django-social-auth by default the developer actually only wrote Facebook, Twitter, Google and Yahoo. The other LinkedIn and so on were written by other people who contributed to the app. So it's very well documented. So most of the setup that I told you, you can pretty much get from the documentation. But I wanted to outline some of the problems that I had and some confusions that you may face as a developer, because I came to this app quite new and I had to, to add the extra functionality, I had to learn a few things to get it to work. Now, there's a demo and example source code available. So you can just pretty much go there, it pretty much does everything you want to have happen. And it uses pretty much every single backend that it provides. So if you're looking for something specific to the backend that you're looking, you can just go and see what parameters they have defined and then see the pipeline. It actually goes through an example where they actually cut the pipeline, return to the user and start the pipeline again. So that was very useful for me to use this app. Now it supports Django versions 1.2 to 1.4. So if you are on a very old version of Django, you won't have problems with this particular app. I was actually upgrading our application from 1.2 to 1.4, and I actually found that there were no problems with the other dependencies that I had in my app, but I had no problems with this. And I actually know that for a fact because I actually went in and did some exception handling inside the app, which you don't want to do. But so I know that this app definitely supports 1.2 and 1.4, and probably will also support 1.3. So I can guarantee you that. Now I actually contacted the lead developer because I was having a lot of problems with this app, and because I was just doing things that were wrong. And he actually replied me within a day. And so he does reply to emails. You need to contact him. You can rely on someone who has written the app, who knows the emails a bit to help you with your problem. And I'm told that it plays well with other social authentication apps. So you can use your django-social-auth and see how it works. But I haven't actually done that, but you can try it. So, okay, number one, exception handling. Usually when you want to try out if your program is breaking and you want to add some exception handling, you want to know that the exception is being handled. In django-social-auth, if you have divide equals true, whatever exception happens will come out as a Django error page. However, in production, when debug equals false, it actually handles it by redirecting you to login URL. The thinking behind this is that all exceptions that happen, you should know what is happening. Okay, but I want something on my real machine that works like it should work in production. So I don't quite agree with that notion.
Well, that's something they are working on.
Yeah, so
They're working, is it bug or something there?
I don't think so. The IT developer, I read a forum post where the developer said it's because all exceptions should be shown to the user development. In production, those should not happen. But as I said, I don't agree with that. I want something that works identically in production. So actually, he said he's actually added this particular social auth raise exceptions because false. But if your debug equals true, it breaks. It doesn't work as expected. So, as I said, you have to set it to false, then it will work as it should. Now, there is something called an is_new variable. Now, this is_new is tells you if there is a new user who is logging in or an existing user. Based on, in our case, we were using emails. So once the email is associated, you will know if the user is new or not new. Unfortunately, due to the way social auth works, the isNew variable remains false until a certain point. So if you want to get some terms of use or something based on if the user is new, you have to wait until it's gone to that step before you can actually do that. Now, so after this point in the pipeline, isNew will be initialized to true if it's a new user. It's initialized by default to false. So until you reach this step, you think that the user is an existing user. So you cannot do anything before this step. You can only do all the user processing and stuff based on a new user after this. So, if you want to delete the user, I mean, if the user wants to back out of the operation, doesn't want to use social auth, you have to go back, delete the user, clean up the database, do whatever, all that stuff. If you want to add that extra functionality, they want to back out. Because if they don't want to back out, then don't worry about it. But I think this is the major difference. Cutting the pipeline. So you can stop the pipeline, as I said, to get additional data. In terms of use, email settings, stuff like that. And this, and what you have to do is you have to save the status. So say that pipeline step number 3 is where you want to actually cut the pipeline and get some user. You have to save the status, then put in your function, then resume the status. So what is the major problem is that you can say step number 3, after that I save the status. If I say resume, it will start at step number 3 again. Actually what I want to do is I want it to start after I have finished my processing. So for that you have got to set, that's easy to set up, you have got to set this particular configuration parameter in settings, right? Then you can start at this step. But by default it goes to the one step before the status is saved, which I think could be modified. But now this is the major con. Username uniqueness is done. But the username that you get from Facebook will have spaces in it, which is not allowed in Django. Username with spaces is not allowed. But that's what django-social-auth will give you. Username with spaces. Now the length restriction of 30 characters is actually not checked for either. So you have to go process the username, see if it's within 30 characters, otherwise initialize it to the email address. If that's also not within 30 characters, do some other thing. You get a username that is valid. So you get a database integrity error, because what I did was, it's very useful to use a Facebook test user. Because Facebook test users will actually give you names that are 50, 70, 100 characters long. So that checks the edge cases. For edge cases, Facebook test users are very good. So I would always recommend to use that as a log on the Facebook account. So I had this huge name, and it was like 100 characters long, and immediately Django threw a 30 character limit. So that's something. So what I did was I just wrote my own custom function.
So there is no way to override those.
It has uniqueness, I know that, I tried it. But if you're going to roll your own custom function to check that validate the user, you're going to check for uniqueness anyway. So yeah, just write your own function.
Is it possible to increase the length of the model itself?
You can, but it's already a default model. It's a user model in Django. So you have to override that model. I think 30 characters is a good enough limit, so I don't quite want to go and override that. But yeah, you can.
Providing any other DB backend apart from relational methods? If I want to use some NoSQL,
Fine.
is it possible to use some NoSQL database as the storage?
Use I don't know. I know for a fact that it supports all the SQL databases, but I think the settings file actually shows only Postgres, SQLite, MySQL, and Oracle. Those are the 4 that it supports. But I think you probably could hack it to work with something else. So, as I said, social signing eases the registration process. Websites are able to provide personalized information. This is a major point that I talked about a lot on this one. So, yeah, the social signing process access to the social site and users return to more useful. So, you go through that process and you are immediately logged in. You may want to return to the user, as I said, but it's a pretty painless feature. You don't have to put in your first name, last name, and so on. And basic setup of the virtual environment I went through that. pros and cons behind it. So these are links. So if this may put this slides up on meetup page, I think upload this, and you can go to these links to further reading. So I would suggest to read this one. It actually compares 4 different social authentication apps, and you can choose which one you want. So that's good if you're going into social site authentication, and the first step to know which one to choose. Because there are a number of them. These four that it talks about are the leading ones. So it will be good for you. So that's it. Any questions?
Are you going to do
Yes.
anything else?
Yeah, demo for Yoga. All of you have Facebook accounts, right?
You are fully related to Facebook or in Twitter?
I've only done Facebook.
Yes.
We have plans to do other sites.
Okay.
I'll just log in, I'll just give the Yoga site out, and one of you can volunteer to log in using Facebook. Now, Yoga is like a Craigslist site where people share things with people they trust. So that's why when you start off, you have to log in. You don't have any other features. So the big thing about this is that you share with people you trust. So this is the app that I've been working on since August this year, and so you would like to click on that link. We like to get more user adoption of people using the Facebook. So you'll be helping us doing this. So
Go ahead.
like to try, please.
So can you tell us more what exactly are you sharing?
Things, items, anything that you want to name, give away.
Is it already live?
Yeah, this is live.
You can post it up on the screen.
Okay.
I will have my details on this. I will have to change the password.
Okay, and then how exactly it works?
Then maybe people log into the site. They see that okay, you posted the item and they want it.
They want to borrow it.
Well, you can set the share. You can set it to for all 4. Then sell, borrow, and give. Or you can just set it for one of those or 2 of those, and then they can request that item to the website. In the same way, you can post up whatever you want. And then if you want something and someone posts up something that you are interested in, then you can actually skip the step if you want to just get one.
On the left.
So the resolution will be scroll down. You
So
use the mouse.
you want to talk about work in progress right now on the Google.
Yeah, the
Go
Google,
back. Can you?
the Google and Yahoo app on production, we are actually developing it at present. So it's still a work in progress.
So we want to use the social auth.
We actually were trying to use a social auth, but it is one thing is that it's very geared towards login and authentication. So you'll have to actually work with it. And actually, have you heard about Python-OAuth tool? You know that it sometimes doesn't had some errors.
So it is not well maintained.
Yeah.
So now what happened? Kenneth Rice has got a fork of that. He's got request-OAuth. Kenneth Rice request library.
Okay.
So he introduced a library called request-OAuth 2. So it supports OAuth 2 over requests.
Okay.
So it's
So we can install that instead of we have
Python
actually
install
hacked Python OAuth to make it work. But we may use request to
request-OAuth 2 works with Twitter, Facebook.
Okay.
Awesome.
Then I suggest that
Because we have a current bug on the system.
Okay.
it's because OAuth 2 doesn't
Sorry.
have the scope that I made for the Google. So
Okay.
it's-
Native work. meet up on Anyway, so
Yeah,
Yes.
so you're logged in and your name is updated. But
yeah.
you can go to your profile by clicking on that. Go to your profile picture. So, and I'm very proud of that you got the time zone correctly because it took me 3 days to get that right. So I'm really boasting. Okay, so anyone else want to have a go? But even just before you leave, you may want to log out and log in again using the same link.
Okay.
And
Not that one. Sign in with Facebook.
Huh?
The
Yeah.
the
So
immediate
confusing
is,
so you're already registered as an existing. Like someone like me, if I go in, I can log in both through the user interface
Okay.
and Facebook,
Right.
and it will get the same account because the emails match.
Right.
So the thing is that for a lot of our existing users, we said as long as your Facebook email and the Ruga email are the same, then you can log in. Now this is only one of the flows that we allow. Like say you invite a user, you send an email to that user. They actually have a link on the email where you can click and use Facebook to log in. That was actually a flow that was quite complex. Because there were some issues with that. But this is one of the flows that we
Dion, have you seen any other kind of social integration challenges or anything?
I was just wondering, sorry for that. He hasn't logged in Facebook yet.
Yeah.
log in.
So I know why before logging.
Yeah, if you're not logged into your Facebook, it will ask you to log in.
And authenticate.
If you're already logged in another
Cookies are there.
That's why it's like,
Yeah, same cookies get used.
no, I thought like this Nandha is using the Facebook credentials even without while at Nandha while logging in. He gives some Facebook credentials, right?
That's
So
a
that is stored as
That's what that flow is.
That's the first time.
That's a
No, that's
if you are
happen every time you are trying to log in. Even if you are logged into Facebook and you are visiting Google, the first time you press log in with Facebook, there will be a round trip to Facebook. Just that because the cookies are there, you won't be challenged for a password, but the round trip will happen.
So now you can see now.
Suppose I
I just
am
logged.
logged in at all.
So you
Okay.
can see now.
No, so you have to log in.
So now it
It
will
will
ask
give
me.
it.
It's got my
Okay,
details.
and he logs out of the Nandha app,
Right.
right?
But I'm still
But
logged in,
you're
so-
still logged in Facebook. So that is actually, I think,
Well,
No, this is not a single sign-on. This is an authenticated provider. So you are not logged into a single sign-on, which is Facebook and the whole umbrella. Using Facebook, you are logged into Runga. So you log out only on Runga.
The point is trying to say is this is a gotcha of which trips out a lot of people. Something which I see often is on I hang out on Stack Overflow. More precisely, I hang out on Meta Stack Overflow a lot. I'm not much of Stack Overflow, and Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange, they are OpenID providers as well. And a lot of people see the same thing. They create a Stack ID, OpenID. They log into Stack ID, and then when they use the same Stack ID across other sites, right? Once they log out of Stack Overflow or of a Stack Exchange site, and then go back, and they get auto logged in. And then people start, ranting. It's you are storing my credentials wrong. This, that.
Here,
The
when
whole
you
thing
log
is
out of
people don't.
Facebook,
Yeah.
You automatically get logged out of Runga.
No.
That's
so you are within that.
That is the same thing you're telling, which happens in Stack Overflow.
Right.
That is wrong.
It's wrong. It's right. There are
No, see,
two faces of the
there is a
debate.
difference between single sign-on and
You're not
authentication provider.
You're not using a single sign-on.
Yes.
Here, what's happening is you are saying, I'm logged into Facebook, and from now on, because I'm logged into Facebook and I'm logged into Runga, you can use that anytime I want. So
Yeah, but if
essentially,
you log out, once you have logged into Runga,
but you're
you log out
logging out
Facebook.
from Runga. You're not logging out from Facebook, right?
That's right. In this case, you log out of either one of them, the other should not be affected.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
In case of a stack exchange, because it's an umbrella of sites where
Right.
you have a lot of stack exchange sites.
Right.
So there you can consider it as a single sign-on. You
Yeah,
log out
there
of one, you log out of all the stack exchange sites.
Right.
Same with Google.
Right.
You get a Google authentication and you log into some XYZ site, it does not affect each other. But if you log out of Gmail, you are logged out of Reader and everything else. So that's still umbrella.
Right.
That's
So from here, what I understand, if you have logged in Runga using Facebook and you log out of Facebook, then so
You're
what?
still logged in
Yes,
Facebook.
in Runga.
And if you don't log out, like yoga, you just close the browser. What happens is that it keeps you logged in for 1 hour.
Session expiry is 1 hour.
Session expires in 1 hour.
This is with the same browser, like you
Same
open
browser.
multiple instances of browser, then obviously it's not going to be the same.
Not going to be the same.
Same instance.
I actually had a few problems where if I'm already logged into Runga with one user and I was using a Facebook test user, it used to completely hijack my request, my user. So that's only when you're testing. You won't get that with the real user. So,
Using Heroku?
yes. So something I set up 2 weeks back. This is actually running on.
Oh yeah, so you want to give a background first before we...
Yeah.
So we are now switching topics completely, right?
This is
Just one.
Related project different.
Heroku was bought over by Salesforce some time ago. And it basically allows you to run your Django app on the cloud. So you can use the infrastructure of the database and the cloud without having to get a hosting provider for your app. So it's already running on the cloud. So the backend area is already infrastructure as a service is done for you. You just write your app. You have to have a Git repository. Just do a Git push and it's up there. And again, you have to set up a virtual environment and those things, but you don't have to have a web server a hosting provider. Of course, they do charge for if you want to have more worker threads, like 2 or 3, then they do charge a monthly fee for using their infrastructure. But if you just want develop on it just for your own thing, they give you 1 worker thread for free. And that goes idle after 1 hour. So it may take, to start up will take 2 seconds. But you can start developing on it.
So the nice thing about this is that this is your gateway into the enterprise applications on the cloud through Salesforce. So Salesforce has a platform which allows you to build your own applications on the cloud, or you may be using their CRM product. So through your own custom applications, hosted through Heroku, there's a nice gateway that connects you into the Salesforce world.
So that's what we are trying to use Django and use it on the Salesforce cloud. And you can write it in the language that you're comfortable with, but still have the advantage of using cloud services. So that's what we are looking at. And if anyone has experience on this, you could present next time we have a meetup.
Yeah, this could actually be a common topic between the Bagpipers and the Salesforce meetup that we also have going. So I mean, if anyone wants to have that kind of a bridge application demo talk about it, that it will be great. We can get both the teams in one room and then talk about it. If that's interesting, I encourage you to sign up.
Next meetup is on December 9th.
December 10th,
9th.
9th or 10th, yeah. Sunday.